look for evaluate is to take a deeper analysis pane zvinhu zvatapuwa. Saka patikunzi evaluate it's like explore the impact. Exploring is now we are analyzing the impact. Was the federal government have a positive impact or a negative impact? Saka chaunofana kuziva, when we are talking about federation in this case, we are talking about the amalgamation of Rhodesia. And in terms of Rhodesia, we must have northern Rhodesia and southern Rhodesia. Northern Rhodesia, it refers to Zambia. Southern Rhodesia, it refers to Zimbabwe. So if the question says evaluate the impact of Federation of Rhodesia and Nyasaland, the term Rhodesia means northern and southern Rhodesia are part and parcel. Saka ipapo pane Zambia ne Zimbabwe. Nyasaland now it's Malawi. So in this case, when we are writing this question, we are not focusing on Zimbabwe only. Are we together? We are focusing on the developments that were experienced, either positive or negative, that were experienced in Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Malawi, to simplify your understanding. But in this case, we'll be explaining it as Rhodesia. The term Rhodesia, when we are talking about federation, kana tiri ku federation chete, kana tikati Rhodesia tikubvira kuti mune northern Rhodesia ne southern. Asi kana taaku first chimurenga pakanzi Rhodesia, we are referring to Zimbabwe. Ku second chimurenga because ku second chimurenga payakatozoitika Zambia yanga yatova neindependence kudhara. Manzwa nezvandikuta? Right. Saka in this case you say the question demands candidates to review the positive and negative impact. The positive and the negative impact. The positive and the negative impact. The positive and negative impact of political, social, and economic developments during the federal government. Saka tukuti ma political developments, ma economic developments, ma social developments akaitika during when the federal government was established. Akanaka papi, akashata papi. Tunzwana ne? Right. Those who could funzwa. Asindati please. Question a federation can I chuya whenever they ask federation, they ask the reason why it was established, number one. Number two, they ask its achievements. Number three, they ask more about why it collapsed. So all these three aspects, we must know about the political reasons, the social reasons, and the economic reasons for its establishment. After that, we must also analyze the political, social, and economic impact. That is the positive and the negative impact. And we must also outline the reasons for its collapse. So we have got political, social, and economic. But in your thesis, we must evaluate ma political reasons here, ma social reasons here, akaita kuti federal government collapse. Those who know for federation issues. Saka in this case, part the positive impact. Saka always when you are given a question in a bracket, say E, it's not to mention out economic reganachi, kajinji, apa wakto grupa zunwega, utai watine political impact. In your introduction, you are going to highlight that the federation was the amalgamation of Northern Rhodesia, Southern Rhodesia, and Nyasaland into a one unified state or into a single country. This was done by the Europeans in order for them to easily control the Africans and for them to share profits amicably amongst themselves. So especially Britain. After that, we are going to say, but though the federation was established, we must take note of the political impact, the social impact, and the economic impact. In terms of these impacts, we've got positive and negative. Saka kana ukada kutoisiya iri miniskate approach yakadaro unotoisiya introduction yatonyoreka utovaudza kuti nema positive impact nema negative. Kana wada unokwanisa kuexplain in brief kuti in terms of positive impact, we've got the issue of the establishment of elections, we've got economic impact yakati, social impact ndakupaika zwana infrastructure development zwana chinya kuti body rangu raita diki, then uku ku negative totaura zvimwe taurira. Saka in this case dangoti mungosarudza mapoints handisuda kutaura yese, amuda kungotsanangurwa here and there, even masocial wacho amanyora kubhuku mungotaura 1 1 1 1 1 1 wamuri wangani 1 2 3 4 5 6 mune umwe ungosarudza point yake yada kutsanangurwa whether ndeuku whether ndeuku apo taura yako. Ora toda unyanya otanga nevari kuda uku kuma positive impact. Brian atarda ma elections shoot. Alright, ingotanga imasarudza ndozotaura hande uda papa. Paje consolidate white supremacy. Yes. Boom. Tribalism. Iri kupisha kuma end of tribalism. Alright. Raji. Suppressed the national feeling about Rainan. GDP. Alright. Up. Monetization of the economy. Zvakapusa ka. Alright. Saka ndakutanga saka tine 1 2 3 1 2 uku ndokune 2. Imwe point iri kupiko. Pane uku kune 4 uku 2. Alright. So ndakataura ndikati nini, whenever you are explaining your points or whenever you are exploring your points, taurirana pauri kuexplaina mapoints ako mostly you must make sure kuti your introduction is more convincing. Taurirana your introduction is a banner to whatever you are going to write. Andambokupa example introduction. Saka apa taakuti furthermore cannot taking consideration of the impact of the federal government in terms of its political impact. We've got the establishment of the electoral board by the federal government, and whereby we are observing that elections were held after every 30 years. It was something positive to the African economy, to the African political impact. Why do we are saying it is a positive impact? Because before, the Africans were ruled by a government whereby they cannot exercise their views and opinions in whatever, in anything to do with the politics. There was a centralized type of government. And during before the establishment of the colonial government. But when the colonial government was on power, the Africans, they were given opportunity to choose what they want and what they do not want. And the elections, they were held after every 30 years. It was better than what they experienced before. Not a centralized type of government. Explain. Then to end of tribalism. When we are talking about the tribal wars, we are talking about the continual wars or conflict between the Shona and the Ndebele altogether. So when the federal government was established, there was no tribalism which was occurring. Why? Boundaries were demarcated and no one was now being allowed to intimidate someone, because now the country was now ruled by constitutional affairs, whereby no one was going to kill individuals because of raiding. No one was allowed to steal someone's cattle. No one was allowed to do anything criminal. Saka in terms of political affairs, it was now fair because there was no one who was amongst the Africans because before the establishment of the constitution, there were tribal wars whereby the Shona, for example, Torwe Chipi could raid the Ndebele or the Ndebele could raid the Shona. It was an interchangeably occurrence of tribal wars amongst themselves. But Pakawe, they stopped it. It is now benefiting them. Why? Then despite having my political impact, economic impact, there was the monetization of the economy. In terms of the monetization of the economy, we are explaining an impact whereby there was the introduction of money, banking notes and banking coins. There was now, instead of them practicing barter trade, they were now using currency. And this improved the economy. Then to end up, I improved the GDP. GDP, it means gross domestic product. By the establishment of the federal government, trade improved in Rhodesia. Both, if you can take note, both in Malawi, Zambia, and they started their trade status. Yaka improve while they were now trading with the European countries. Their products, they were now being sold. Kunze vachiwana foreign currency, economy booster, economy mari, kwane employment creation, kwane chi. But our main focus in this case is focus upon improve the trade, improve the economic status in terms of its imports and its exports. Then despite having the positive impact which were experienced during the federal government, we can also talk of the negative impact in which individuals experienced. For example, there was suppressed national feeling. The Africans, both in Nyasaland, in northern Rhodesia and southern Rhodesia, their freedom was breached. They were brutalized by the administrative, by the white colonial regime. After that, we can also have the federal political administration consolidate white supremacy. The whites, they were appearing as the superior race more than the Africans. Why? The Africans, they were always suppressed. They were always, they were being harassed. And above all, the electoral body was biased. And whereby we can see that in the National Assembly, there were about very few Africans. They can find in the parliament or in the cabinet about 5 Africans against maybe about 32 Europeans. So the politics were younger biased, not yai maintain out my whites aramba in a power, my Africans aramba ripas. Taura don't know what's associated in this thing. What over? Tatu page. Any question?